Welcome to the podcast that brings you high voltage, intriguing information, as well as electrifying conversation on all topics, current, past, and yet to be. This is Phase to Phase.
The first step in avoiding the trap is knowing of its existence.
I've been having these weird thoughts lately.
Without change, something sleeps inside us and seldom awakens.
Here are your hosts, Marcus and Drew.
You said you were done.
I know. This is what happens though, dude. This is literally what I was saying, dude.
Don't type out all your thoughts. You need to say all your thoughts.
No. Well, these are like just like notes and
Bullet
shit, so I don't
points.
fucking forget shit. Yeah, exactly, dude. But that's how it starts, dude. This is literally what like why this even started for me is because I was like, all right, let me just make a few notes about some shit that I want to like flesh out and stuff like that. And then I was like, okay, well, we got to add that. And then you got to like, again, it's like the whole backup thing, you know, or hold on, backup. Let's look at this a little bit, zoom out. Yeah. I didn't want to go crazy with it, but at the same time, I wanted to be like thorough, dude. You know what I mean? You can't look at any of this stuff in a fucking, this whole thing in a vacuum. You know what I mean? Like that would be intellectually dishonest and lazy.
Well, speaking of looking at a vacuum, I mean, I don't really know shit, so...
Like, why don't you fill me in there, buddy? I just wanted to talk about this whole crazy DC siege fucking thing, dude, because it's just so gnarly, and just been getting like a ton of calls, like I said, about, you know, from buddies and family members and stuff like that, going like, well, what do you think about all this, dude? Like, here's what I think. What do you think? And just, I'm listening to like a narrative that's being drawn, and I'm not exactly...
Before you say that,
Okay.
a narrative from where?
The media, and I know that's like a very vague like statement, but you know,
MSM?
the left, but yeah, exactly,
Okay.
dude, yeah. The mainstream media
Uh-huh.
and mostly the left wing and stuff, if I had to put like a partisanship like look on it. So I just started making notes that I wanted to like talk to you about, and it started turning into like a dissertation. I guess I'm glad that it was called out and condemned bipartisanly.
Okay.
That's something I was really surprised with. And I
We
was
can't
really-
agree on anything
No,
anymore.
exactly. And that's why I was like happy. I'm like, oh, fuck, dude, this actually might be a moment where, I mean, one side can get shamed, but then maybe we can all be like, yeah, but we all agree. This was fucked up. This was not good. This was super bad. I heard politicians and lawmakers on the right using words like dangerous, un-American, disgraceful. And those are all like apt, descriptions of what happened for sure. Now, obviously just the violent parts. There was like hundreds of thousands of people there evidently. So, I mean,
Right.
We're not going to lump all of them or whatever, but we also definitely can't ignore all the shit that happened. And so before I even like kind of went into it, I want to go into it or whatever. Because like I said, I have some.
Can I be cynical for a moment?
No, please do. I was going to ask you like kind of what.
If I was super...
Have you heard any? Because I know how you're not super like, radars up for any type of this type of political stuff. So I'm just kind of curious, what narratives have you heard from this, and what kind of rhetoric have you heard?
You can't be living in America these days and not have heard something about it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was going to say, if I could be super cynical for a second, do you think maybe even that the reason that even that happened is just because those people were actually somewhat threatened?
Yeah, no, 100%. But I think the narrative that's being spun is that they're threatened for a different reason. They're not threatened because they're losing politically. I'm hearing another narrative that they're being threatened. I'm having like a weird racial spin being put on it. And
I don't think we're talking about the same thing. I mean like the actual politicians like were physically possibly in danger. Is what I mean. Like,
for sure.
they were,
No, totally.
Is that what you meant? Like I said, if I'm being super cynical,
Please.
maybe they would say something against it and condemn it because they were actually this had consequences for them.
I see.
Personal
consequences. Yes. And that's totally 100% needs to be like talked about and addressed and stuff, and not maybe ignored or whatever. Because that's pretty much one of the reasons why it was so bad, is that first of all, it was like disrupting the democratic process or whatever, which, I mean, it's not unheard of. You know what I mean? The people that were all there voting on it or whatever, and maybe voting to object to some of the votes that the legislator had cast. That's all part of the process, and it's totally fine. But obviously, when you start breaking through like the barriers of security, rushing security guards, fighting with them, and all the breaking windows and breaking doors, and all this stuff, and then that one lady who freaking tried to like break through the door while there was like, I thought everybody had been like rushed out and evacuated, but maybe not, maybe it was right on the heels of that. And so obviously the dude was like, well, you can't get in here. And she tried and fucking died. Yeah. And which is obviously super tragic and stuff. But I'm also not going to pretend that, I'm not going to pretend that like what you were doing in there is like not warranted of some sort of like crazy chaotic, like, dude, you buy your ticket, you take your ride, dude. You know what I mean? You take your chances and stuff. And again, I'm not trying to take like sides. I'm trying to look at this in the most like objective way as possible. Like, would I have maybe done what he did? I don't know, dude. I would like to think maybe I would have tried to do one or two other things first before that happened, but
Well,
let's be real, fucking dude. It was chaotic and crazy and like.
well, I'm going to preface this by saying I haven't dug that hard into it, but what I've heard was that they were definitely warned to not come in here and back up.
Oh, 100%. You
Yeah.
could hear him. Well, the video that I watched or whatever,
Yeah, I
one of the
didn't
guys
wanna
who got
watch
busted,
any-
the Sullivan dude. Yeah. It's clear as day. They have their guns drawn. They're like, dude,
Yeah.
stop. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So, I'm not even here to talk about that because to me, it's like, dude, if you're part of that, and again, and again, I don't have any sympathy for the people who are getting arrested and stuff. Again, it's one of those things where like, bro, you do this is what happens, dude.
Yeah.
Just because you're on one side or the other, that doesn't matter to me, dude. Like, I'm trying to be as consistent as I can with my application of a standard of like, that violence is wrong, right? And so kind of in light of that, I kind of wanted to kind of flush this whole thing out a little bit more with you and kind of get your opinion on it as well.
Are you going to talk about any sort of the motivation or the backgrounds of the people who were involved?
So
Or-
not really, only because all I can do is give like a general assessment, dude.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I guarantee you 99.9% of the people that were here, that were there, were just there to like make their voice heard and maybe like rowdy up the place a little bit. You know what I mean? The people that broke in and stuff, I wouldn't classify them with the same people. Those people took it a step further and need to be held accountable for that.
Yeah.
And not the other way around. And it's funny because again, if we're not looking at this in a vacuum, that number that I just said, like 99.9% of the people that were there, where have you heard that number before, dude? In the last last summer when we were talking about, people were complaining about all the violence, and they were like, well, 99.7% of it is, or 92%, 97%, whatever.
Right.
Some really, really high 90s number,
Yeah,
whatever,
majority.
the vast majority is all peaceful, right? And they're right. It was. But again, it's like, we're not talking about them. So I'm not talking necessarily about the motivations of everybody that were there. Because regardless of what your motivations were, these were the outcomes.
Yeah.
You know, you had death, you had destruction, you had freaking like I said, the democratic process was freaking, and I think that's another reason why people are so upset is because it like freaked them out so much. But I can totally understand when people say like, well, yeah, now you know what we've been feeling, the little people down here on the ground who have been having their businesses freaking destroyed, who have been freaking getting the business end of violence and stuff like that in their cities, while their leaders and their, the mayors and the governors and some senators and Congress people are kind of like not really taking that as like a priority for them to deal with or whatever. And so finally, when it comes to like their house and their neighborhood and stuff, they're like, oh my God. Yeah, dude. And the pearl clutching like, oh my God, the rabble is outside. So kind of forgive me, dude, if like our elitist freaking like leaders all of a sudden being like, oh my God, we were in danger. You're like, yeah, you goddamn fucking right you are, dude. At all times. So try to remember that, dude. Now, again, violence is fucking wrong, but I just like want to remember about the laws of the jungle. There's the laws of the land, and then there's the laws of the jungle, dude.
Can I jump off of that? I'm not
Please.
sure if this is the right place to throw it in there, but I need to be careful about how I approach this. It was also funny to me that the reactions of some of the people when they met police and military resistance.
Oh, like the LARPers that were like freaking, oh my God, what's happening?
Yeah. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I can't believe they threw tear gas at us.
No, again, and you heard me complaining about this last summer, dude, when it was on the other side. And I was like, really, guys? Come on. Like, duh. Again, you buy your
Play
ticket, take your
stupid
ride.
games, win stupid prizes.
Exactly, dude. And so when I saw that, I could hear this time, I totally agree. I'm like,
Right.
why are you guys crying now? Like, come on. Like, we all know what this all means and stuff like that. You can't pretend because we live in this like dope little insulated bubble of America with all of our like technology and all of our like things that make our life awesome and stuff. It's like, well, life's like horrible things in life still happen, dude. If you put yourself into that position, these negative things can happen. Duh. Right?
As gross as it is, even people are like, who were there were getting angry at the police for stopping them. Like,
yeah. You know what's weird though too is like, goodness, it's a chaotic mess.
because
yeah,
even
there
that
were
gets
people
politicized.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And that's the other thing too is that's what is at the core of this entire issue, frankly, is that the politicization of everything and the scoring of political points is far more important and a bigger priority than trying to
Fix problems.
objectively, like, yes, exactly, make a good faith effort to try to actually fix the problem.
Yeah.
Because in reality, they're like, at least the left right now is like, ooh, this is our opportunity, dude.
Yeah.
Everybody's on our side because they fucked up hella bad.
Yeah.
So maybe we can push through a lot of, like, what did Rahm Emanuel say? Never let a good crisis go to waste, right?
Yeah.
And they're just milking this one, dude.
Can you
To be
believe
honest,
Biden
I kind
put
of
him- Put him
understand.
in his freaking, he's like one of his closest advisors.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me
Yeah.
because Barack Obama freaking
Yeah,
was
he
a big.
was-
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. It's really just this is just Biden or
Obama
Obama
2.0.
2.0, dude.
I
And it's
God,
not
I
even
hope not.
2.0 because that would insinuate that it was like better, like a better Obama. This is like Obama 0.5. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is like the
straight to DVD
leftovers.
sequel.
Yeah. You can find it in the $4.99 bargain bin at your local gas station. So, I'll do my best, and I'm going to try to do this as objective as possible, and I'm not going to be objective because I do have biases, obviously.
Sure.
And as you know, over the progression of this show,
Mhm.
my opinions of certain things have fucking changed a lot in the last like 12 to 14 months.
Right.
Dear listener, you can go back and listen to some of the episodes before where I said certain things, and then you can slowly kind of see the progression of my opinions kind of
Drew's
changing. a
slow
little bit.
descent into madness.
Basically. Slowly slip into madness. But what would I wear? So I figured we just kind of go over the timeline real quick, just to kind of get you and everybody kind of up to speed. If you don't know already and you've been living under a rock on Mars with your eyes shut and your fingers in your ears.
Or if you're living in the new regime and need to go back and see where it all went wrong.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, if you're listening to this in the future and it's this weird like freaking security state dystopian like future novel, like 1984 meets like Brave New World meets like freaking, I don't know, Equilibrium from that freaking awesome movie. Maybe you can pinpoint kind of where we as Americans collectively fucked up.
You can see the exact moment where Ralph's heart rips in
Snaps in half.
half. Like goes frame advance,
there.
frame advance, right there.
It's like clutching his chest. Classic. So basically, we're going to start off just kind of like at the beginning in the morning of Washington, D.C. This is January 6th, obviously, 2021. Yep. There's been reports of all over the place. And again, this is kind of another kind of common theme that's going to be repeating probably forever, but just in this topic for sure. And that's of the kind of fog of war and haziness of like kind of how many this and the percentages of that and the specificities of that. So what did you hear from the motivations of what were the motivations of these crazy fucks outside? Like, what did you hear?
My understanding is that, yeah, there was a Trump rally. I don't know if it was even earlier in the day or just like the night before or something. There's like some controversy over the remarks that he made, and did he kind of aggravate these people and incite violence or not?
Right.
That's a debate, I guess. But
we are going to be briefly talking about that. Just so you know.
Okay. And then also the crazy shit that I heard was that the lady who was shot.
Yeah, Ashley.
And also
yeah.
the first police. Because I think there was 2 police officers
Babbitt.
that died. The first police officer that died.
Did you hear about how the second one died?
No.
Of course not, dude. He shot himself 4 days later, dude.
Oh, really?
While he was off duty.
Mm.
And they're counting that as a freaking as a death from the Capital City riot.
Did he leave like a suicide
he
note
wasn't
that alluded
from
to
what
it or something?
No, and from what I heard, he wasn't even assigned that duty that day.
Well,
did you hear about the other people who died?
Like the one who got trampled, or like
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's one who got trampled. Okay, so they're counting 5. I'm not going to count the guy who killed himself as the death. Sorry, dude. Come at me, internet. Ashley Babbitt, she got shot in the neck because she was freaking trying to like push through, and they told her not to and stuff. There was police officer Sicknick, I believe, is his last name. He got a head injury.
Yeah.
Went
like a fire
home or something. Fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
And there's the video on that, which
they were defending with a fire extinguisher.
No, that's not the same. That's not the same video, dude. And again, this is one of these like common like things where people are like, "Oh, was this it or was that it?" Because I thought that too. And then now there's video evidence of showing the moment when it happens.
Oh,
so what had happened was, there was in the center of the frame, there's a group of, and again, I'll post all this for anybody who wants to watch it. There's a group of cops that are kind of fighting with a whole bunch of protesters, right? And they all have like riot gear on, like helmets, shields, freaking the whole 9 yards, right? And they're all pushing people back and stuff. And some douchebag grabs a fire extinguisher kind of from like out of frame, and then you see him kind of approaching into the frame, and he just throws it into the freaking group of cops, dude, who all have helmets and shit on, and it bounces off one dude who has a helmet, and then it hits Sicknick in the back of the head, and he's the only dude who didn't fucking have a helmet on, dude. And it bashed him in the fucking head, dude. And you see him looking around like, what the fuck was that, right? And then later, unfortunately, he went and had like a stroke, and then later died. Then did you hear about the other 3 people who died?
Not as specifically.
You said trampled, right? The lady
there was one lady who was trampled.
Yes. Yeah. And did you hear the other 2?
I don't know if I did or not.
I think another dude had like a stroke and another dude had a heart attack.
Okay.
Now, I was hearing reports that the dude who had a heart attack fucking tased himself. Yeah, there was a trample, a stroke, a heart attack, a firearm injury, and a head and stroke injury. 5 people who unfortunately died in all the freaking chaos and stuff.
He had a rally, and then people have their own opinions on whether or not he started it.
Oh, actually, you were going over the timeline, basically.
Yeah.
Kind of. And okay, so yeah, so sorry, I don't
Yeah,
want to put
and
words in
then
your mouth.
there was also people organizing on Facebook, like plans to actually
A couple of different platforms.
Yeah,
right.
Because there's the whole Stop the Steal movement going on,
Right.
but then there was some people who were actually stormed the Capitol.
Right.
And I'm not sure if the people who ended up dying were actually part of those groups, or they just like caught on that wave as it was going.
I'd really like to know that too. Once all the investigations kind of get wrapped up, and then check into these people's social media accounts, and
that's the crazy thing. And maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but this whole thing, we have an incredible amount of access to it because people were posting about it before, during, and after, and they're streaming and everything.
Yep.
Even after, if they were putting it on sites like Parler or something, even after those things got deleted, people were able to get back into it. I don't know if you heard about that, but we have the unfortunate benefit of being able to see this almost moment by moment.
Right.
So.
No, that's good though, because all this needs to be documented and looked at from every angle and really determined what exactly happened. That way we can kind of, well, I mean, we need to get over this anyway, regardless of fucking what happens. But I mean, it just helps for closure for everybody.
Well, what's crazy about it too is that's also what's helping those people being prosecuted.
And I'm pretty sure, like, Trump had because of all the craziness of the last summer and like the monuments being taken down and yada yada, and the federal destruction of property or whatever of like the courthouse and blah blah blah. He created like a modifier or whatever that's called, where it amplifies like the charge. So if you commit a crime on like a federal, like a vandalism charge or something like that on a federal property or whatever, dude, you get like 10 years or some crazy number that he did. So it's like, bro, the guy who you say you support,
right?
It's just enacted a law that you also, I would imagine, had said that you had supported earlier in the year, and are now like on the other end of that. So I don't want to hear any crying, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Again, I'm trying to be consistent as possible here, dude. And if you busted into that place, dude, you better be ready for any consequences that are coming down the pike.
Yeah, and the joke from the left is, it's funny because if the people would have been wearing masks, they'd have been harder to identify.
There actually were a bunch of people that were wearing masks, and that's spawning. And I'm not going to talk about this because, again, it's the fog of war still, and we're still learning new things. There was definitely one like leftist-y guy there, but that's one guy, and frankly he got a lot of great footage. So I mean, you know what I mean, even if I have disagreements about his freaking like political leanings or whatever the fact, that dude documented some great footage, dude. Some amazing footage, and some really depressing footage too, obviously.
Sure.
So yeah, you're right, dude. So in part or whatever regarding the timeline. So there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people that showed up that day, right? Actually, they showed up the day before, but as far as the morning of,
right.
I've heard reports all over the place, dude, from like as low as 50,000 people to as much as like 3 million. Oh. I think obviously the reality is somewhere in between. And from what is. Yeah, exactly, right? Generally, right? And so that's.
It wasn't 300 Spartans.
Yeah.
It was like 12 guys and a.
Yeah, exactly, right? Totally. And a machine gun. You didn't know that. From what I've heard there was probably a couple of 100,000.
Okay. From
like 100,000 to maybe like 300,000.
Okay.
Somewhere in that neighborhood, right?
Sure.
A lot of fucking people, right? Not like not the biggest things we've ever seen, but definitely enough to like put pressure.
You couldn't count it while you were in the crowd.
I don't think so. No. I mean, and like you were saying earlier, they were there basically because they wanted to support the politicians who were going to object to certain states' state legislators' certification of the votes,
right?
As well as protest against the ones who were certifying the ones from said states.
Yeah, there were also demonstrations in capital cities across the country.
Yes, actually, at all the capitals or whatever. Across the country, they were doing similar ones in like solidarity for the people who were like couldn't go. Now, Trump wants this to happen because presumably, you know what I mean. That's at least the strategy, because he wanted to be able to talk about, well, not him specifically, but he wanted people in his stead, to make their case that wasn't heard from a bunch of the lawsuits or whatever. So presumably he wanted this to happen so that those senators could then, say like, well, I'm objecting because X, Y, Z, you know what I mean? He gets up there and starts his speech, right? And everybody's like listening to him. And at some point, dude, before his speech is done, Pence releases this letter stating to like everybody or whoever's interested that like, look, dude, I'm going to follow what I believe is my democratically like what my job is as president of the Senate.
I heard a little bit about that.
Yeah, because Trump didn't want him to like certify those votes that we were just talking about, right? Certain ones. And he's like, well, dude, I don't even think I can do that. Like, I think that me counting the votes is kind of ceremonial, really. And really the legislators are the ones who've already kind of made their...
Yeah, it's already done. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And so he kind of basically wrote a letter saying like, hey, I'm not going to discount any of these votes, which I should have... I kind of wish he would have done that the night before, not like right when... Trump it was the worst timing ever, dude, because as Trump is giving a speech, this information comes out. And literally while Trump is still like talking, people start like rushing the first of like, I think 4 like security layers around the Capitol. There's like the outer layer with just like a couple of cops and some barricades and stuff.
Even during a speech?
There was kind of like crowd control kind of all over the Capitol, but it was really weak. And that's the other thing we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, I was wondering if we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, definitely. Again, this is one of those things, dude, and this is why, again, I was taking me so long with these notes, dude, because I kept having like, well, you got to talk about this, and you have to be fair, bro. You got to talk about that, dude. And fucking, like, even though if this destroys the other sides or this right sides or left sides argument, bro, if this is what happens, we have to talk about it, dude. Right. The statement from Trump during his speech, which is why I don't think he was impeached the second time, is because his tweets and his speech, as like politically charged, as I would obviously agree that they were, he did say words like peaceful and let's go down there and peacefully protest and cheer on the freak and make your voices heard and da-da-da-da. And when you hear fucking politicians say like, oh, we're going to like fight for what we want and you're going to make your voices heard, that rhetoric has been around forever, dude. You know what I mean? So unless you're like, we're going to go out there, we're going to rough this mother up, then obviously that's a little bit different. So anyway, he's like, well, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to march with you guys down there. And so when he like wraps up his speech,
I'll be there with you.
Yeah, he wrapped up his speech or whatever, and then they were basically like, the Capitol's being breached, homie, like right now, like as we speak or whatever. So he didn't walk down there. Basically, the full-on breach of the Capitol lasted from like 45 minutes to like 2 hours. It was like relatively short before it was like all cleared out and fucking normalcy could kind of regain. Some sort of semblance of remnancy. And then of course there was all the victims with all the videos, and again we're gonna post all that. And then the Capitol was cleared. And then thankfully the session began again just a couple of hours later, right? Yeah. So it was really resilient. It was awesome. It was like, okay, these rowdy cunts came in and broke up and put us all in danger and stuff, but now we're back to business. That's
what's so sad to me is like, what did these people die for? Like,
yeah,
they went in there.
What's really sad about that too, dude, is this that Ashley Babbitt chick was a like 4-tour military veteran or whatever of like, I want to say the Air Force or something like that.
I believe,
yeah. And she was like our age, bro. She was like in her mid-30s or whatever, right? Or well, sorry, you're way younger. I keep forgetting. You're just so old you're just so mature for your age, Mark. And so
Baba, Spider-Man.
That's right. So my point of what her age is why it's so significant is because it was September 11th and the war and the subsequent wars after that were started in the halls of fucking Congress just, a few years before. What sent her overseas and her whole military like career or whatever was because of that. And to only have her come back and to die at that very place where she was like initially sent in for like however many years she did her tours and stuff, dude, is kind of a mind fuck. You know what I mean? It's disappointing for me. It was actually more disappointing than the like repercussions of like, well, you shouldn't be like climbing up and doing this and you got shot. It's more of just like the whole situation of like, God, that sucks, dude. Fuck. You know what I mean? There's just the realization of that was just very like, what are we doing, dude? Like,
is this the point where I should jump off of that?
Of course. Well, I'm done with the timeline part.
Okay. My understanding was she was heavy into QAnon.
Do we know that? Because I know that there's a lot of that going around too. Like,
I haven't personally seen it, but what I heard was like she's, if you troll her social media history, like she has like.
I remember that horn dude is like super into Q.
He's like a figure in their mythos or whatever.
Right. I didn't know if she was. I didn't. Perhaps I should have done more homework, but let's just say that she was.
She was, and so was the first officer who died too, I heard.
Really?
Yeah. And so
that's ironic.
The whole thing that was going on with Pence was there was this rumor, or I don't call it a rumor, I guess you call it misinformation, but there was this idea spreading around that Pence had the ability to just hand Trump the election with whatever they called the Pence card. And so Pence wrote that letter. He's like, I'm just going to do this. I don't have the ability to do whatever the fuck you're thinking I can do.
Right.
And so like a lot of people are just pissed off and like, well, Pence is a traitor now. And
I did hear a bunch of people, and again, like that's why like the timing of that letter was so bad.
Right.
And but yeah, I did hear a bunch of reports of certain people who were again pushing through and breaking windows and shit, going like, we're gonna burn this mother down and like find Pence and like everyone was chanting like "F the politicians, F the or something like that, and yeah, no good. If it's connected to QAnon though, like, does that matter? You know what I mean? Like in the long run.
In the long, well,
or even in the short run, really, I guess. Like
it does and it doesn't.
Okay.
It
does because they're like an online extremist group, which I don't even know if I'd call them that. I just thought that they're like a bunch of conspiracy theorists. I haven't seen any like direct action.
That's
that
exactly my point.
Related,
it's not just like, oh, well, we think these things are going on. It's, oh, I'm gonna go and put my life on the line.
Yeah.
For some shit that I read on the internet.
Word.
You know what I mean?
I mean, we're presuming that though. You know what I mean? Because I don't know necessarily a lot about Q. I definitely like I'm aware of it and everything. But from what I've gathered, all the people that were there and that were like angry and so pissed off is that they were not being listened to, and that they were being cheated and all this stuff or whatever. Which, I mean, and again, this is going to be a reoccurring theme of why I wanted to bring this up. Is that regardless of like if these people are right or wrong, dude, if you have like 70, 80 million people, however fucking many people voted for Trump, plus like extended family who might not have voted, so let's just say like a quarter to half the country believe a thing, even if that thing is wrong, bro, we all gotta live together. Like, we have to fucking talk to these people and be like, and figure out fucking, you know what I mean? Like a way to fucking figure things out. Because if we just ostracize 80 million people and tell them to go fuck themselves and then bail on all their business and, ostracize them from the community, from the fucking public discourse or whatever. Yeah. Where do you think that's going to go, dude?
Right.
So that's my only point. And that's why people are like, you're making like excuses for blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, dude, I can strategically and objectively see what's coming down the pike, dude. And if you guys aren't making it better, you're making it worse. The media is just throwing fucking fuel onto this fire. And the political left wants to just squeeze this for everything it can get or whatever, even at the detriment of the future of this country, dude, as far as the discourse and us fighting each other and stuff. We need to like settle the fuck down, dude. And instead of telling everybody to shut up, we need to all maybe shut the fuck up and just listen to each other or whatever. Now, we don't have to agree with each other necessarily, but we also don't have to bash each other over the fucking heads with bricks and Molotovs and American flag signs and shit like that. You know what I mean? Whatever side you're on.
Let's look at why this is happening.
Right. It's easier for me to objectively look out and see kind of what's happening is because, bro, I've been complaining about shit forever.
How can you appease those people? Who think the election's being stolen?
Well, first of all, you gotta have to have a good faith like discussion and act in good faith like when you're talking about like legislation and these political games that are being played, dude. Because I feel like one side is trying to be like play it like honestly and be like, well, no, we have to like appease both sides and stuff, and another side is like playing all for for all the cookies, dude. You know what I mean? Freaking take no prisoners by any means necessary, that type of shit. And And again, dude, I don't necessarily know what the right answer is, but I know what the fucking wrong answer is. You know what I mean? Yeah. So after the timeline, people's like natural, next logical space would be like the questions that they have about all of this, right? Sure. Obviously, right? One of the questions that I keep fucking hearing from a lot of people that are talking to me is like, why was it so easy? Yeah. To break into the fucking one of like in a post 9/11 world, dude. How was that able to happen, dude?
That was one of the first things that struck me. I was like, dude, I can't believe this is happening. Yes. Especially when I heard just a bit ago that there was going to be like thousands of National Guard troops.
Yes.
Like, what the hell?
So so everybody knew that this was going to be a massive protest, right? Dude. everybody knew. Yeah. Dude. Everybody knew.
On top of that, this is being posted about. People are planning this stuff well in advance. Yes. People showing up with like T-shirts or whatever.
Yes, like, dude. Yeah. Yes. And like, dude, the flights were like insanely overbooked. Exactly. All the hotels were insanely overbooked. There were even like attempts to try to like shut down some hotels so that these fucks wouldn't come and like stay there, right?
You would think that we'd be all over this. We'd have sniffed this out a long time ago.
We're going to talk about that, homie. There's even videos too of like seeing police letting them in, dude. Yeah. And somebody was trying to like tell me like, dude, that could just be like, like keeping
a crowd control tactic.
Basically, yes, exactly. And it's like, dude, from fucking the angle that I'm looking at, dude, it looks like there's a whole bunch of rowdy cunts and they're just opening the door and they're fucking flooding in, dude. Yeah. Now you may be right, dude. Maybe that was a tactic, but maybe I'll be the first one to say that that tactic fucked up. Okay, like you know what I mean. And I don't know. What am I? I'm just sitting here with my beer. I'm not a fucking cop, dude. I wasn't there. You know what I mean. So I'm just pontificating into nothingness. It's just fine. And then one of the only videos that I saw, besides the ones of people being let in, dude, it's only like a handful of it
didn't look like
it's like 8 cops, dude, and they're trying so hard, and the dudes behind them are just like heave, right, heave, and they're pushing the it's not a chain link fence, it looks like a bike
barricade.
It's a bike like barricade thing or whatever for like crowd
pathways.
herding cattle type shit.
It's
dude.
like the ribbons.
Yeah,
when
basically.
you're walking to a queue.
Yes, dude,
Yeah.
exactly. And so like these poor guys are trying so hard, dude, and freaking one of them even gets like trampled, and then thankfully the guys, like some other group guys that are in the rowdy group, pull him up to be like, hey, sorry dude, fucking blah blah blah. And then those dudes fucking retreat back to like the third furthest out perimeter zone, and then from there it just keeps going and going. And then when they hit that second fence, the those barricades, they're not even tied together, dude.
Oh, really?
So because like in the first video I was just referencing, you can see
can
when a
hook
guy
them
picks
together.
it up, you hook them together. And so when they're like pushing on one, it's pushing against all of it, so it makes it really heavy. Bro, when they hit that second line, dude, they were just picking them up and throwing them like they were fucking Legos, dude. And so I was like, what happened there? Who the fuck fucked that up, dude? So anyway, all that stuff aside or whatever, there was backup that was requested 6 times, dude, by the police throughout the day, dude, and it got denied every time. And I don't know what the reason was, if it was some nefarious thing that somebody was holding it back, or if it just didn't have the fucking resources, dude, for whatever reason.
We should maybe also make the distinction that there's the Capitol Police and then there's like the DC Police.
Yes, Capitol Police like deal with like the monuments and the Capitals, like
They're just security for the Capitol.
Yes,
basically.
correct, totally.
There's like the DC Metro, I think they're
exactly.
called.
There's probably a bunch of different agencies, dude. And again, this is they have all these agencies at their disposal. So again, why didn't like you fully? I mean, if we look at what happened with last summer when there was riots and shit in DC, and there was like the White House siege and all this stuff, dude. The presence there was dude. The presence there was like way gnarly, right? So there's now reports that Muriel Bowser, the freaking the mayor, basically denied the National Guard just like 2 days before the event or whatever. And then I think the day of the event, and I'm not sure what the timeline is on this, but she did then request them, either because she changed her mind or maybe she's getting reports like, hey, shit's getting really fucking rowdy. And I do remember her saying like, oh no, I don't want live ammo either, like, which obviously if you don't want to PR a fucking nightmare on your fucking hands, that's probably a smart idea. But the problem was when she requested it, like the Pentagon like requested like clarification for like, well, like what are they for? How many troops or whatever? It was some sort of like
bureaucratic
logistical.
BS.
Yes, exactly. And then by the time,
see this form is taupe. See,
you
need the
you need the blue, the salmon one over there on the left here. No, that's the baby blue one. You need the darker blue. And so by the time I guess it got like all figured out, the situation was over, dude.
I still can't believe that.
It's lame, dude. And now we're getting like evidence that the Washington Post has evidently unveiled like a security assessment that was from a few days before that, recommending more security. That evidently that report wasn't widely shared among other agencies, which I don't know even what that means, because I feel like
we've been here before.
Yeah, no kidding. September 11th. Yeah, exactly, dude. We're getting reports. Just put them in that filing cabinet. You pointed to the garbage.
I told Greg to tell him.
Greg. Todd. Yeah, exactly, dude. Oh, goddamn, it's these people in HR. We'll get them next time. Yeah, dude, it's the same type of nonsense, dude. And it just sucks, dude, because I was like listening to this MSNBC report that a buddy of mine sent me about this. And all they said was that it wasn't widely distributed amongst the rest of the agencies. You're like, okay, well, whose fucking job is that? You know what I mean? Like, it's got to be somebody in the agencies who, like, is a PR person who connects, or not PR, but like a interagency liaison, you know what I mean, to be able to coordinate different things or whatever. It's DC, for fuck's sakes. We were just talking about all the different agencies that exist. And just on top of all those like security concerns and like failures and stuff, the Capitol Police Chief ended up resigning in the wake of everything.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know what that means. Like, I don't know why. I don't know if they made a statement or whatever, but make of that what you will.
I mean, that sort of thing happens. If something bad happens, on your watch.
Yeah, good call. That's also
people want accountability.
That's also a good point.
Yeah,
good call. So I don't know, dude. That all stunk to me, and I think it's just. It added to the lameness of the whole situation, dude. Like the timing of fucking Pence's letter, all the pent up energy, freaking the lack of security, all the fact that all these angry fucks are like ready to, freaking throw down is just all bad.
I heard something. I didn't look into it, but I heard something after they got in. There was like some police that were like posing for photos and everything when they were like chummy with them.
Yeah, so that was the other kind of weird thing too, dude. Is that despite all the like horrible violence and like destruction of property and just like deplorable shit, basically, there was a lot of just like people walking around taking pictures, smiling, like the guy who has the podium who's just like, hey, look, and he stole Nancy Pelosi's fucking podium and then posed for a picture. You're like, dude, you fucking moron, dude. But you see the look on his face. It's so not like, fuck this place. He's just like, hey, what's up?
Right.
Talking to another buddy of mine, freaking, who was just like, do you notice all those like weird, meandering, lost fucking people, like videos of lost looking people? Yeah. Whoa, like just in awe.
Is what it looks
this is so, yeah, that like too, of like, oh, I've never actually been here. Yeah, totally. These people that were like walking in the in the velvet ropes, dude. Like staying in the velvet ropes, and then somebody would like jump out, and you would see somebody be like, "Hey,
You don't have to follow that line.
Get over here! Hey, no, like telling him to get back in." You'd be like, hey, see, but this is my point, dude. Some people were there in hell of destroying shit. And other people were just like, hey, man, we're going to occupy this place and sit down. But don't be disrespectful. This is our house, dude. Yeah. So it's fucking bizarre, dude. There's this weird mob mentality when all the energy is just like crazy and you're the tip of the spear and you're like, you could do anything basically, even shit that like maybe you would think back later, like, why the fuck did I do that? Yeah. But then just behind that, like that wall of fucking psychos at the tip of the spear is basically everybody else who's just like, this is kind of crazy. Yeah. What's going on over here? Oh my God, it's a statue of Jefferson. I've never even been in here before. Yeah. And so it's really bizarre, dude. And that's kind of why it was like, I was awestruck for me while I was like gobbling up all these videos, just going like, dude, this is nuts, dude. Yeah. This is fucking bizarre. Yeah.
Especially if they're not seeing like a heavy resistance, like nobody's stopping them or whatever,
Yeah, it's going to encourage them to be.
The layperson, if they saw, a fucking decked out military dude with, with an AR or something, okay, maybe I won't go in there. But if there's a bunch of people just casually walking in, they'd be like, "Oh, what's going on? Is there like a tour or something?"
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it was funny because some of the police that were overwhelmed, like once like that second stage of people came in, they were all just like, "Hey, how's it going?"
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, and then people were just like, "Hey, what's up, dude?"
Start fighting these thousands of people.
Obviously not. Yeah, dude, there's like videos of like these like teenagers like smoking weed in the fucking like rotunda and shit. You're just like, "This is hilarious." Like, it's fucking funny. See, now that type of shit, like this type of mild like political like resistance shit, doesn't even really bother me. Even the breaking into like the building. I mean, I wouldn't have done that. I think that's fucking dumb. That's asking to be shot or like to do or whatever. But like breaking into the barricades and then just like surrounding the building and then maybe being like, we're not going anywhere. Like that doesn't really bother me. But they didn't just do that. They fucking took it like 2 more steps further. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, dude, all it takes, like we've talked about before, all it takes is one crazy to be like, let's go do this thing.
Yeah, and for some reason, like, shifts. And there's this other like phenomenon that I was like reading about that makes perfect sense or whatever about that like mob mentality and groupthink mentality is that like, let's say just kind of like that, like you're all like protesting somebody's like house for whatever reason. You're all like out there and you're all shouting, you got your signs and you're like, blah, blah, blah. And we know they're in there. If one person is willing to like cross the line a little bit, now the line has like progressively moved for everybody.
Right.
So like
it's
one
like
guy will
social change.
It is, dude. So one guy will step in front up or whatever and maybe hurl a rock. And people are like, "Oh shit, okay." So now other people will grab rocks or whatever and they'll be like, "Yeah." And then maybe some other guy who wasn't like, even thinking about it or whatever is like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to kick the door in. Bah! Kicks that fucking door in or whatever, right? Now he doesn't want to go inside. He's not going to take it that far. But somebody else will. Yep. And you see the progression, dude, until you have fucking crazy things, dude. Yes, dude. And it's all in real time. Yeah. It's all sometimes in a matter of like seconds, dude. That shit changes, dude.
And not to mention all the adrenaline's flowing high.
Oh my God, you're not thinking at all. Your reptile brain is just going crazy, dude. Yeah. You're not like your higher levels of thinking are fucking switched off. So like with all things, like I said at the beginning, you can't look at these things in a vacuum, right? So I kind of want to compare some of the similarities and some of the differences of what happened at the Capitol from what happened last summer.
Okay. I know what you did last summer.
Terrible, terrible movie. Sat around and watched all the terrible things unfolding on TV while not going to work and not bathing. No, I don't know what people fucking did during the lockdown. I don't know. I actually was out there working the entire time.
That was essential.
Why don't you guys tell me what the fuck you guys had to do? What you guys had to endure? When I talk about these things, I don't want people to, like the listeners or to you, obviously, to infer anything from what I say.
I mean, I know what you mean, but you should probably say that.
If I state something, it doesn't mean that I'm tacitly like agreeing or even disagreeing with it necessarily. Like I'm not for or against it. Just because if I bring something up doesn't mean I think it was a good thing or, think it was, don't infer anything. Just try to listen to the things that I'm telling you. Okay. And if I bring up certain things, I don't want people also to be like, well, this is just whataboutism. It's like, no, this is about trying to find and uphold some sort of like neutral standard. Yes. That we can all agree on, dude. Yeah. Because if we don't have that, if we don't have some kind of social cohesion, well, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, what's the next logical step after we're done talking?
We're living in a society.
Right, dude. Some of the similarities, I guess, yeah. So some of the similarities that I just kind of brought up, and there's only a couple. And again, I was only making notes. This isn't a full, like, dissertation where I'm fully exploring every single thing.
You're not going to give me a bibliography.
I wrote this all last night, dude. Yeah, like frantically freaking before I had to, in the midst of all the other 100 things I was fucking doing with the kids and getting home from work and blah, 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 blah. So the similarities between them are pretty quick and common, dude. You know what I mean? In comparison to what happened last summer, it's all bad, basically, right? We had straight up death You know what I mean? There was straight up murders. There was like accidental deaths. There was assaults that turned into deaths. There was freaking vandalism, fires, arson, and stuff like that. Freaking destruction to federal buildings, like we had in Portland for like weeks and weeks and like straight up weeks and stuff. Family that lived there, that lived near there, and everything. They were saying how like, and you can actually see it on the videos. They ended up posting up. And I think they did this in Seattle too with the police station, but they had like barriers that were like concrete barriers that were like 6 feet high with like chain link fences around them and stuff like that. It was like a castle, dude.
Right.
Which is what they should have had at the fucking Capitol, to be honest.
I mean, I see what you're saying, but that's also just fucking depressing.
Yeah, no, I know. It's yeah, I agreed. Fair enough, sir. Tip of that. Yeah, you had assaults on police stations, and one was burned down in Minneapolis, you know, in the initial freaking, which, I mean, coincidentally enough, dude, I actually was fine with that, to be honest, because they had evacuated it before, and evidently they prepped everything and took all the files and guns and shit out or whatever. I actually was kind of okay with it. I was like, well, if this is going to help, like,
heal.
Yeah, or like maybe release some of this like stress and stuff. It's just a little building, dude. That doesn't really bother me all that much. Yeah. Now, one could be like, well, it's the same thing with the Capitol building. It's like, well, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing, dude. But like, I guess I get the sentiment of like, well, a federal building's a federal building, right? Like one of the fucking courthouses in, I think it was Portland, kept getting, like I just said, kept getting attacked repeatedly or whatever. And there was even an attempt in one of the police stations to freaking barricade the doors in with the police that were still inside and tried to light the thing on fire, dude. Thankfully, nothing bad happened with that, dude, obviously. But it could have gone freaking way more sideways. So anyway, it's all bad. But the differences are the things that I want to focus on right now for obvious reasons, dude, because I'm seeing a blatant, like, 180 by the media that are suddenly like this sudden newfound righteous indignation for political and civil disobedience and violence against police officers. They care about these officers and about like, you know, and so then again, this is my opinion. Okay. This is why this is what it's, you know, so if, out there in Radio Land, if you disagree with me, feel free to leave a bunch of comments. I'm sure there will be plenty. But one major difference, dude, is that there wasn't any political endorsements from, thank God, either side of what happened at the Capitol siege.
Yeah.
There was absolutely endorsements of what happened all summer long from politicians and the media, just the statements they made, as well as even fundraising for certain groups like the Minnesota Freedom Fund, where it would help like bail these people out who got busted for rioting. Right. I think even like Kamala Harris, her campaign early on when all this was happening, freaking donated a whole bunch, to the Minnesota Freedom Fund, and that kind of became a big sticking point for the right, going like, well, what the fuck? These guys were all busted for illegal shit. And it's like, well, but they were protesting for a good cause. And for a while, a lot of people were like, all right, like, okay, I get it. But, you know, I guess you're right. Yeah, totally. Like, although I disagree with some things, I guess you're right. That makes sense. But then, you know, months and months and months of that, all of a sudden, that kind of, in my opinion, kind of lost people's, like, we're like, well, I can't, like, believe that anymore. But the other thing, too, was the corporate endorsements of what happened over the summer rather than what freaking happened at the Capitol siege. You had fucking companies like NFL and the NBA and Nike and Netflix and fucking Disney and all these people going like, you know, we support, you know, this movement and freaking blah, 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 blah. And they're like painting stuff in the streets and stuff without using taxpayers' money, without going through, you know, unilaterally doing that without freaking going through the process of voting on all that. And
can I interject?
Of course, Marcus. This is why why we're here.
Because I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
It's almost like you're saying.
But okay, well, let me turn it around the other way then. How would you feel if a company was like, well, what happened at the, you know, it was mostly peaceful. You know what I mean? Wouldn't you roll your eyes and be like, go fuck yourself? 5 people died. Like,
I would support the people who were, you know, just gathering there, but I don't support the people who broke into the Capitol.
Right. Correct. Right.
Like that sort of thing. That's kind of what I was going to say is.
I'll give you that one, but
you have to distinguish the two if you're going to distinguish the two.
I'm totally willing to give you that one. And I'm totally willing to hear that argument because you're right, dude. Words matter. And if they said, hey, we agree with, I mean, as far as the corporate angle, because there were politicians who were saying, I do agree with.
Well, like, sure, yeah.
But as far as the corporate angle is concerned, you're right. Words matter, and there wasn't at least not one that I'm aware of, a corporation that came out and said, yeah, dude, these violence and attacks against people, it's totally fine. Yeah, that's true. Good call.
PR points.
Yeah, no kidding, for sure. So I'm totally willing to give you that one. But one thing that really freaking sticks in my craw, dude, is the whole Chop thing.
Oh, okay.
Up in Seattle, right?
Occupation, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Where they did like a 16-block radius or whatever. I mean, if you include the park and all the areas that they took or whatever. Where, bro, you had freaking like armed checkpoints on U.S. soil, dude. Total randos, like, patrolling the street. Fucking SoundCloud rappers passing out AR-15s out of the back of their fucking Teslas, dude, and handing them to fucking 17-year-olds that are holding them by the barrel and shit. You know what I mean? And there's video of all this, dude. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just like, bro, what the fuck is happening, dude? And, like, did that situation end like fucking Waco or Ruby Ridge? Or that one that we were talking, that you were saying, like that Philadelphia thing where they dropped fucking a duffel bag of bombs on these fucking, like, quote unquote extremist groups or whatever? No, dude, it didn't, bro. Right. And in fact, freaking what had happened, it was like placated to. And dude, there was so much, like, in the aftermath of that, there was so much that came out of it, dude. There was reports that was like, I heard numbers as high as like 500 rape accusation freaking cases. And even if it's half that or like a tenth of that, that's a fucking gag, dude. And evidently that was like a big problem during the Occupy movements or whatever. Really? There's a lot of sexual assault, dude. Jesus. Unfortunately, a lot of tents and backs of vans and fucked up shit, dude. Really not good things. But not only was there a bunch of rape cases, dude, #BelieveAllWomen, but like, dude, there was 3 murders, bro. There was like a drive-by on one of them that I'm like less familiar with, but the one that really gets me, dude, and why this is like such a big deal for me was 2 kids that were fucking murdered, homie, that fucking stole a car and went joyriding at the park, like on the field or something like that. It was like a white Jeep. Dude, they fucking lit it up with like hundreds of rounds, dude, and killed the dudes inside. And it was a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old. The 16-year-old's name was Horace Lorenzo Anderson Jr. And I remember because his name was so fucking cool. And this dude's dad went on TV, dude, and just fucking poured his heart out, dude, asking like, why did the mayor or whoever ask freaking the police chief to fucking stand down? Because that's what the police chief was saying. Another black woman freaking, again, not being fucking treated fucking properly and shit like that by this media in the States and shit like that. Only when it suits their fucking needs, dude. And she was told that they have to stand down and to leave or whatever. And then she, and then this police chief actually later fucking quit, dude, because of like how badly she was being treated. And the mayor even provided freaking porta potties for these fucking people, dude. Like totally placating into you know what I mean? Into the, giving them a space, dude. And the only time any like official pushback was present is when those rioters, whatever, showed up at fucking Jenny Durkin's house, dude, going like, hey, we want answers too, you know what I mean? They're like, then she was fine with like making discouraging remarks about like Antifa or BLM or whatever, you know what I mean? When she was, and again, it's kind of what I was thinking about or saying about earlier when like some of these elitists are like, oh, is this happening to me? You're like, yes, welcome to the rest of our fucking problem, dude.
Right.
Like, so when I see these kinds of things, dude, again, I'm not trying to make an excuse for what happened because I'm on your side still of the royal you, of like, no, that was fucked up, and I'm willing to condemn that 100 ways from Sunday. But I have eyes though, dude. You know what I mean? I remember shit. I am not a fucking goldfish, dude. I remember longer than 5 minutes or whatever it is.
Well, you're
dude.
better than 80% of the electorate.
No kidding, right, dude? Like, and so when I see this, I'm like, yes, that's horrible, but also, where was all this fucking righteous indignation earlier, dude? You know what I mean? And I want to talk about like the fallout and stuff now, and then after that, move on just to the final point of like rhetoric, because that is where the number one thing of the theme of this whole thing or whatever. Okay. So kind of what you mentioned earlier with the whole fallout of everything is like the big tech censorship now, because like you were saying, a lot of people used these platforms to, to organize and do potentially illegal shit on it, right?
Yeah.
Facebook basically banned any and all pictures and photographs of it, dude. You didn't even have to like make a statement for or against it.
Right.
They don't want any pictures or yes, dude, which I think is weird. Twitter freaking banned Trump and a whole bunch of other accounts and stuff like that, which is kind of hilarious because
people.
Yeah, and of course all the Q people, right? And again, that's how that shit starts, dude. It starts with like, well, that kind of makes sense. We should maybe do that or whatever. But then where does it fucking end, right? Slippery slope. That's what
I knew how you felt about it. I was like, I know you have something to say about all this.
Because, bro, the libertarian in me is like, well, I might even agree with you, but it's not my place to say. Like, that would be morally presumptuous. Which is hilarious that Twitter is doing all this because, dude, just a couple of weeks ago, the Ugandan elections were going to be happening, right? The country Uganda in Africa.
What you gonna do about it?
What you gonna do about it? Yeah, it's back the way you came. Evidently, the leaders were saying things on Twitter, and Twitter didn't like whatever they were saying, so they blocked them.
Like a temporary block, like the first thing.
I'm not even sure exactly, but they blocked him in such a way that it pissed them off to a point where they're like, "Fine, shut down all of it. If I could shut it all fucking down, dude. Like no internet in my country or whatever." And
no Twitter, no internet.
No, I think it's no internet, dude. And maybe it's no Twitter. I don't actually know how much control they had. They said that they shut down communications. I'm not 100% sure if that means just the Twitter and the social media network or more than that, maybe. but then they released a statement saying like there's nothing more important to like criticizing, like rightfully so, criticizing Uganda, or at least the leaders. But then chastising them, saying like, well, there's nothing more important than like open conversation and free speech and all this other stuff. It's like, motherfuckers, you just literally just like 2 days ago purged the entire goddamn internet of like a whole swaths of people, dude.
Yeah.
So I just think it's kind of hypocritical and hilarious for them to say that and stuff. And like you said, like Parler got banned. We were just talking about that, and it got taken off the Amazon servers, so you can't even fucking get it ananymore.
Right. Because Amazon was their host. That's where
right, exactly. They needed all the server, whatever. Yeah. And they said it was because they were because
again, as
they were organizing.
As we mentioned before, like, you know, because Amazon is a very big, they have the lion's share of basically the internet.
Oh my God, dude. When you see it broken up, you're like, oh my God, you wonder why, you get why these people are like tripping and freaking out. They're like, because there's nothing left for us.
Amazon Web Services.
Right. And so they were saying that they banned Parler because that they were organizing the Capitol raid, right? On there or whatever. But now new information's come out that actually is mostly Facebook, mostly Twitter, and mostly Gmail. These three particular like platforms or whatever. Right. None of those guys are getting fucking taken down or whatever. And again, if we're going to try to be consistent here, there's plenty of extremism fucking from Twitter, dude. For fuck's sakes, dude, there's people who in China, like officials and others, who can praise these Uyghur concentration camps like we did in our freaking episode.
Prisons.
Yeah. And they get to be left up. That's fine. And calling for all this other shit. And so again, it's one of those things where it's like, dude.
If I can be super cynical again
please do.
Because
seems like it's your favorite game here, Marcus.
It's because it's a competitor to Facebook.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes. Well, Marcus, for you to fucking suggest that this is not about freedom of speech and it's completely objective. Yeah.
I am appalled.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right. It's about corporatism and scoring political points. Like, and it's unfortunate because I think this is going to have some repercussions that, well, probably some people are probably very familiar with or very aware of and kind of are wanting to do that.
Should we explain what Parler is? Because some people might not even know.
Good call.
Okay.
Parler is, of course, it's like a direct competition, but it's not really at the same level as Twitter, right? But it's like the competitor.
Yeah, I've never used it. I've never gone on it or anything. But basically, it's another social media platform, and it's been flocked to by a lot of people who felt
censored.
Yeah, censored basically by the other websites.
Word.
So, and some interesting development. There were some hacktivists who they were able to make like administrative accounts or whatever.
Oh,
and so they could
God mode.
Yeah, they just downloaded gigs and gigs and gigs of data and like videos that people were posting while they were there and everything. And so there's like more. There's a lot more that we can see now.
See, and that's another thing that people are talking about too, where they just nuked all of Parler, but a lot of different like police agencies and investigation agencies need access to those videos in order to go and get these people. Right. It's kind of actually what I wanted to bring up to you about when we were talking about the Pornhub freaking thing where they nuked all those videos. Where I was like, well, how many of those videos that like, you know, because presumably if the reason why you're getting rid of them is because of some illegal and you know, nefarious shit on there, presumably you want to like hand that over, all that potential evidence to the authorities, right? And not just get rid of it.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to mention, I don't know why it didn't come to me earlier. The other big problem was that the people that got in there and broke in and everything, a lot of them were just let out.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but the reason I heard from that potentially is that they didn't have the manpower to like arrest people, because if you think about what it takes to arrest a person, it's a 1-for-1 thing, right? It takes one cop to take one person, sometimes more, just if you want to make sure this person doesn't get away. Fighting. It takes 2 to 1. Yeah.
But didn't they have backup eventually? Like if they were able to come in and restore an order and get everybody out, I would think. That was only even possible because they were able to like push everybody out or everybody left or whatever, and then they had like enough room to be able to like, okay, bring more fucking troops in here, and now we can. I don't know. That's a good question. Because now what they're doing is they have to crawl through those videos and everything and identify people. And that's how people are getting arrested.
So many, dude. Yeah. And it's already happening. There's a bunch of people that got arrested already. And so when they get rid of Parler and stuff and not these other platforms or whatever, I understand why people are sympathetic to the opinion that this is looking a lot less like housekeeping and a lot more like political like points, you know, political retaliation.
Yeah. Well, that's
whether it is or it isn't. I'm just saying, like, perceptionally.
Yeah. And that argument can definitely be strengthened just because of the demographic of Parler.
Correct.
You can't. You're not going to have this conversation without some kind of political angle.
Of course, totally.
Yeah, that's also even crazier because Parler was out in the open. You know, it's a publicly accessible website. You don't need. You don't need
to shut it down. Yeah. It's not like it's encrypted, and there's a bunch of like encrypted fucking platforms and stuff. Dude, why wouldn't you go after them?
It's not a dark web fucking thing.
Not even close.
Yeah.
So again, it feels to me more like, I don't know, cleaning cleaning house politically
I
rather
could definitely see how it feels like that. But
Yeah, totally. I mean, we'll see kind of what happens. But in addition to that, dude, there's like a whole bunch of other backlash and stuff too, with like banks refusing to do business with like a lot of these like different accounts and stuff.
Yeah.
Closing accounts of members. GoDaddy.com dropping people from their service, like AR15.com, which is I guess the biggest like gun forum in the like on the internet.
I thought it was just leet speak for Eris.
And they got banned for evidently just for like promoting violence, which like they never had a problem before with all the AR-15 talk or whatever, or, you know, I'm sure other guns that probably they talk about or whatever on there or whatever. I'm not actually sure. I don't actually fucking go there, but, other places too, like the Marriott hotel chain is like refusing service to people, and AT&T, Airbnb, Chase Bank, all these people are like trying to be like, okay, we're not going to support Republicans anymore, which again, I kind of don't care because I think seriously, like if it wasn't in the wake of all this, I wouldn't care because I'm like, well, bro, I've been encouraging people to vote with their dollars for fuck's sakes, dude. Like, you should only support the things that you care about. You know what I mean? So in that regard, I'm totally fine. But I also have the wherewithal to know that that is a bad strategy. That's going to cause, when everybody's making money, dude, nobody fucking, you know, you can kind of push things pretty far without causing a lot of problems, dude. So just all that stuff in the wake of what happened kind of feels less like an attempt at peace and reconciliation and more like trying to exclude your political opponents, from the political conversation, dude. And like, Marcus, how many times have I bitched about this exact thing?
We've talked about this thing on this
incessantly,
podcast.
you and I, dude. Yes, dude. And it's just hilarious to me because like there's news agencies like the Washington Post and others and stuff who have like the mantra of like democracy dies in darkness. You're like, well, where the fuck are you guys now, dude? Yeah. When the shoe's on the other foot, you know what I mean? And again, I'm not trying to make excuses for anybody, but I can see what's coming, dude. And I can see that there are all of these things, all of these different variables that are being mixed into the potion of political unrest, and it's not getting better, it's getting worse. Yeah. And a part of me feels like
more baking soda, more vinegar.
Yes, dude, exactly. And so a part of me feels like most people are just caught up in the fervor and bloodlust and want like fucking revenge or whatever, right? For whatever wrongdoings they may or may not have accrued, right? But I also feel that there's a group of fucking people, dude, who absolutely know exactly what the fuck is going on, dude. And they want this so badly, dude. And I think it's people within our own country. It's people outside of our country.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, dude, because tell me fucking with all this political strife happening right now that certain countries are not just fucking wringing their hands together. Yeah, going, excellent. Yeah. You know what I mean? While fucking China keeps encroaching on freaking all of the other countries' borders around them. They're fucking with Nepal and India right now over the Himalayan area because there's a shit ton of fresh water there, dude. A lot of people don't understand that. As well as like clamping down on Hong Kong and the Uyghurs and shit, as we talked about incessantly before. Now they're doing like beach landing drills and shit, obviously to get ready to take Taiwan. And dude, you think we're going to be ready and able to respond to all the horrible shit that's going to come down the pike from that if we're too busy fucking fighting each other, dude? And it's just going to end with the balkanization of this country, dude. We're going to end up like fucking East Europe, dude. I've been hearing a lot of people saying, we need a peaceful divorce. No, you fucking idiots, dude. We need fucking go back to fucking federalism, dude. States' rights and shit, dude. Where we have like a semi-weak federal government and then the states kind of can do whatever they want to do. That way, if people in California want to have a bunch of backwards ass fucking laws, in my opinion, that's totally fine. Fucking have at it, dude. I truly don't care. It's your rights and freedom as American citizens, like, you know, within reason, to fucking do what you want to do. But I think it'd be cool to have all these different states with different things that happen or whatever. And, you know, if you don't want to live in Utah where they fucking shut down the liquor at like 2 PM or whatever the weird like rules are, you know what I mean? I'm fucking cool with that, dude. I'm totally fine with that. I think if we break up the country, dude, and now have 2 different countries, first of all, we're going to actually fight eventually, like down the road, like physically, because
those West Americans.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Yeah, I don't hang out with them East Coasters. Fucking lame. Because like again, what we were just talking about earlier, dude, all different like countries and states, and like when it comes down to the bare bones of it, dude, all want the same thing. And so now if we have these 2 diametrically opposed fucking places living right fucking next to each other, arguing over like river access and you know, wheat fields and shit like that, dude. Oh, not to mention the external threats coming in from fucking other countries and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, how would the desert states fucking survive?
So, bro, we all need each other, dude. Fucking, that's why I like that Tom McDonald song, fucking "No Lives Matter," the one that fucking I sent you, because it's like, dude, they're distracting us on purpose, dude. Fucking the left and the right, and the fucking the left and the right, and the black and the white, and distracting us with the fact that it's each other we need. And it's so fucking true, dude. dude. It's just like, if there is a God, he is looking down on us, just like eyes closed, shaking his head, just like, God damn it, dude. You fucking idiots, dude. I mean, you'll get through this and stuff, of course, like we always do, but fuck, you're just making it so hard on yourselves, dude.
I'm gonna send a plague at you.
For fucking real. At this point, it might be fucking like welcome. And so they're using the backlash of all this stuff. The backlash of all this is being used rather as like a cudgel, as a club to beat the heads over of the people to get their agenda through. And now we're seeing stuff like fucking HR 127, which is like a new legislation proposal coming down the pike, where they want to basically have licensing for firearms and for ammo, 2 different licenses, as well as like a slew of other shit, like getting rid of like the Electoral College and making Washington and Puerto Rico a state, and like packing the Supreme Court and all this other stuff that I'm super not like okay with. And I normally wouldn't necessarily care because, you know, different groups, political groups push through crazy shit all the time and it usually dies. But there's a certain group now though, dude, on the left that they have everything now, dude, right? With the exception of like the Supreme Court or whatever, right? So I normally wouldn't really care about it, but because they hold all the like offices and stuff and all the positions, and they have this like fucked up, horrible event that just happened as kind of like a pushing off point to kind of help them like get things through. Those 2 things together doesn't make me like super confident in the future, as far as not expecting some of these more extreme, in my opinion, legislation to get passed or shot down or not or whatever.
Are we going to dive it all into the conspiratorial realm? There are those that are saying, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was true, but I mean, I don't know if I necessarily believe it, but there are those that are saying it's just like agent provocateurs and
some dirty burden.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. I have heard a lot about that. And it's funny you say that exact thing that you said, because I couldn't agree more. I literally feel like it wouldn't surprise me one bit, but the evidence I've seen is, I'm not gonna lie, there's a couple of videos, bro, that are really suspect. I'm not gonna lie. But just because I have a suspicion of something, you know me, dude, I'll have a suspicion of something and I'll have my opinion about something. But until I've really like feel one way or the other and land on one side or the other, I kind of keep it open to fold in new knowledge into my narrative of what happened or whatever, right? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. There's definitely some videos and stuff where you see a bunch of people who are like, oh, that guy's definitely a Trump supporter. And you're right. None of them have masks on. But there are a couple of fucking ones. The dudes who are breaking like windows, and a couple of dudes that like, there's one video I saw too where they're all in like the offices and shit, like taking shit off the phones and fuck. And the camera comes in and there's a bunch of like presumably Trump supporter people or whatever, and they're like, hey, what's up, like blah blah blah, and they're saying everything, they're not wearing masks. But then when the camera comes in and they're like talking to all those people, and then the people who aren't wearing masks are very like vocal, you definitely see a whole bunch of people wearing like, I don't know, it's whatever, it doesn't matter what they're wearing, but like fucking they instantly fucking put their shit up or whatever and have like the mask on and stuff. Now granted, those could be just people who are smart and not like fucking
hiding
their
identities,
yeah, but there are some people, dude, again, I'm not gonna lie, that like dress in a way that I'm like, well, Trump supporters would deliberately not wear that because fucking they don't want to be associated.
Thrown in that box.
Yes, exactly. And the some of the footage that I saw of the people, not only the people that were breaking into the offices and stuff like that, because those definitely looked semi-Antifa-ish people or whatever. But to me, like, obviously could totally just be fucking whatever I'm looking at. But also there's a video of this dude who's just fucking bashing the fucking windows in with this like little hammer or like crowbar looking thing. And you see a bunch of people go like, hey, stop that guy. And then fucking, like, you see people roll up and grab the fucking thing out of his hand and start like, non-masked people run up and grab this out of the hand of the masked dude who's destroying shit, going like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Blah, 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 blah. And the other report about that thing is that how many times have we had like Trump rallies or protests and stuff like in DC or wherever, where Antifa and BLM or whoever came out to meet them?
Counter-protesting?
Yeah. We didn't have that fucking that day. Not one fucking counter protest, dude.
Not one?
Not fucking one, dude.
I mean, if you could even go into an even deeper conspiracy, there could be people who are trying to pose as agent provocateurs who are really against
double agenty shit. Yeah, no, totally, dude. Yeah, dude. And that's why, like, I'm willing to like, entertain things within fucking reason. And obviously, the further out of reason they get, the less I'm gonna kind of hold them as like weight or whatever. I'm open to hear it, and I'm totally willing to fold it into my narrative. I want to see more. It's like when the whole fucking Kyle Rittenhouse thing happened.
Okay.
And a lot of people were like, this, that, and the other thing, and it was totally justified, and it was like, no, it wasn't, it was fucking murder. And I was like, dude, I've only seen a couple of videos. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna withhold my fucking, I'm not gonna lie, the videos that I fucking initially saw, I'm like, oh, something like good, bro, fucking, you know what I mean? Now, obviously, when I watched all of it, and I heard the interviews from Richie McGinnis and a bunch of other people who were literally on the ground, 10 feet behind the poor fucking dude that got his fucking brain blew out or whatever, right? But that is when I was like, okay, I feel like I've inserted enough information to me to be able to at least, now again, I could change my mind if new information comes in, obviously, but sure. I try to be.
No, you can't, Drew.
I know, right? Totally. You've already made up your mind, dude. Fucking buttered your bed, now sleep in it.
You tweeted 6 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
One more thing.
Please.
Have you heard of the, I don't know that much about it, but like the Boogaloo movement, like the Boogaloo Boys.
The Boogaloo Boys.
Yeah.
So they were actually there in Kenosha the night of the Rittenhouse fucking thing. They were like shaking hands with Antifa and shit like that, dude. Because from what I've heard, the Boogaloo Boys are like a politically neutral like group who just is anti-government. They're down to like ride with the Antifa crew. They're down to ride with, I guess, like extremist MAGA buttholes or whoever you want to say. They're what people call accelerationists.
Yeah.
Where they're like, hey, look, if this is the way, if this is the path we're going, might as well get there. You know what I mean?
Let's throw some gas.
And to be honest, dude, part of me has a bit of sympathy for that concept or whatever. Of like, well, if nothing's
get this over with.
No, for real. It's
Rip
like, well,
if
we've already decided that nothing is gonna change,
just
let's
stick it
let's
in
just
already.
Stop
fucking kissing my neck. Stop kissing my neck and rubbing my pants.
Jesus, like just you have consent. Fuck me, God.
You hear that, America? Just fuck me already.
That's hilarious. That's funny because you actually hear that from some chicks or whatever sometimes. That are like when guys are trying to be like nice and respectful out of like the wake of the YouTube of the Me Too movement and stuff like that or whatever. They'll be like making out and they'll kind of like rub on like the side of the thigh or something, and then they'll like stop making out. I'm like, is this okay? And they'll be like, yeah, totally. And they'll just keep making out or whatever. And then like they'll rub like the butt a little bit or something like that. And they're like, is this okay? And you're like, yes, it's okay.
I need your permission to go upstairs and smash it this time.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess that's okay. No, I'm going to need a complete confirmation. I need you to say something along the lines of, yes, I would love you to go upstairs and smash my puss. But yeah, dude, of women just going like, dude, yes, it's okay. Fuck me. Like, dude, like within reason, go nuts. Like, right. You know what I mean? Obviously, like obviously read the room. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you hear that, America? Fuck me. Show hard. I'll tell you one thing about those cunts. They ruined fucking Hawaiian t-shirts. I can't fucking wear a Hawaiian t-shirt anymore, dude. I can't wear black. I can't wear a red hat. I can't fucking wear a Hawaiian shirt.
Dude, every time I see a red hat, I'm like, let me read the text.
Yeah, exactly, right? Totally. Well, dude, remember like fucking for years, dude, for a minute, dude, people were getting fucking bricked and shit like that wearing a red hat. And then like later they find out like, oh, that's an Atlanta Braves hat. Sorry. That's all right. He's white. It's fine. And so, anyway, coming up to the last part or without this, whatever, I just wanted to talk about the rhetoric that is being fucking thrown around, dude. Because this, to me, is the underlining point of it all. A couple of things really fucking hit home for me in the wake of all this shit, dude, right? Because as our good freaking friend or whatever that we had on the opening the Overton window gun debate when it said that words matter, dude, right? And maybe he didn't say it in that one, but he had said it to me specifically. And I think we can pretty much all agree that sure. The words do matter, at least to some degree, right? So I heard a lot of things that like people were upset about because of what Trump said or what Trump's like texts were or tweets rather. This whole reason why they had the second impeachment thing. Right. The reason why it didn't get, the reason why he wasn't convicted by the Senate was because, I mean, you'd have to ask them, but from what I understand is that the legal case for incitement, like incitement to causing a riot or whatever, is just not there, not even close. But you can still impeach on pretty much anything that is unbecoming of the office or whatever, right? And so because he used words like peaceful and other things like that, they weren't able to get him on certain indictments or whatever, right? So in the wake of all this stuff, dude, I'm literally reading. Oh,
the other thing. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Just for full disclosure, the other thing he said, I think was at some point he said something like "fight like hell." Fight like hell, or you're not gonna have a country anymore. Right. And again, this is what I was saying before: is that type of rhetoric, bro, is older than fucking dirt. You know what I mean? In American discourse or whatever, you can find thousands of instances where they say that or whatever. But that, on top of all the other, like, you know, all together, and then the culmination of things that happened. That is why they freaking decided to impeach him, is because they thought that there was enough there. You use certain like terminology that is inflammatory or whatever, for sure. In the wake of all this, dude, bro, I'm reading fucking ABC articles that are calling for, that saying it's time for a cleansing of America of Trump supporters. The head of the NBC's legal team just got fucking fired because
Project Veritas went undercover with a video where he was talking to somebody in like a coffee shop, dude. He's not like whispering this or whatever, like he knows he's gonna caught. He's confident, dude. He's talking about how once the election happens, first of all, if they don't win, that they're gonna surround the White House and throw Molotov cocktails at it, which I mean is just it's a dumb thing to say, but I don't even care necessarily about that. But what he said afterward is that like once we win, freaking, we're gonna have the question of what are we gonna do with all these kids who are raised in these like households with these extremist parents and stuff like that? We're gonna literally have to have like re-education camps and stuff like that. You're like, bro, fucking mind blowing. And then obviously when this video came out, NBC was like, bro, you can't be saying that type of shit. What's wrong with you? And they fired him. Thank God. Like, but this is a look into the mentality of these people. Their righteousness is causing them to be like, well, I wouldn't like, imprison children and stuff like that innocently. But I mean, it's a good cause, dude. When you're lumping all these people together and then denouncing them or whatever, it's giving an ultimatum that reminds me of freaking post September 11th when George Bush was like, if you're not with us, then you're with the terrorists. You know what I mean? And it's like, dude, only Siths deal in absolutes, bro. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, you're calling everybody out saying that like, well, we know these people, we know what they did and blah, 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 blah. And if you tacitly supported, like, I think it was Don Lemon that was saying like, if you supported these people at all in any way, shape or form, then you are just as bad as these cunts that like broke in and did all this terrible shit at the Capitol, right? And again, that type of rhetoric is super dangerous, dude. And
I can literally hear them dividing us.
Right, dude. Yeah, literally, you can hear the knife cutting through, dude. And dude, Trump supporters were even being compared to Saddam Hussein's bath party, dude. Those psychos that would fucking like skin people and fucking dip them in acid and like have rape gangs and like. Again, dude, you're just like, bro, no, dude, I'm sorry. No, like, you guys are ignorant, dude. Or you're deliberately fucking, doing things that is not true, but, you don't care because you're a partisan hack. If we're all going to pretend that words matter, let's fucking hold that to the same standard, dude. And Trump's tweets are fucking just as bad as a lot of these politicians, dude. Like, I don't know if you remember, and to say that he is fucking responsible for what had happened is just as spurious as saying that when Bernie Sanders was talking early in like 2016, I want to say, or whatever. I mean, he's been talking about it for a long time, but specifically at this time when he was talking about how Republican lawmakers want like grandma to die or like are causing like the deaths of Americans and stuff because they won't sign this universal healthcare bill or whatever the fuck. Do you remember the fucking congressional baseball shooting where fucking Steve Scalise got fucking shot and almost to death? Yeah. The dude was out hunting for fucking Republicans, dude. Now, was that Bernie Sanders' fault because of his rhetoric that he said? I happen to not think so. But if we're going to hold up to the same standards, one would be like, well, now we need to look at all these other things in a new light. If now this is the new standard, right? The
counterpoint to that I would probably hear is that if Trump was saying, if he wasn't pushing his
inflammatory shit.
Yeah. And, well, just the election fraud and stuff in general, then that wouldn't be happening, which...
What if he really believes that?
A plus B.
Is he allowed to like to speak on the things that he truly believes? That would be my next question to that. Is like, okay,
I don't even know the answer to that.
No, I don't either, bro. No, I don't know. I'm just sitting here fucking pontificating with you, bro. These again, it's like the Pornhub thing you were talking about. These are answers that are going to be left up to other people. Obviously, we're just going to sit here and talk about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I agree though. But it's just like, again, if we're going to hold them to the same standards, dude, then we have to remember the last 4 years, dude, has been senators and congressional freaking members and stuff saying things like Kamala Harris saying that the protesters won't let up and they shouldn't let up back when the riots were happening in the summer. Maxine Waters fucking like right when Trump got elected was saying like if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant or in a gas station or whatever, or in a department store, you push back on them and you make yourself. Yeah, I remember that too, dude. And then we had all these people that were like at dinner and stuff like that, and like that were getting like had to like leave because fucking there's a bunch of rowdy cunts fucking being upset. And yeah, Nancy Pelosi saying things with regard to like the border situation where they're like holding like kids or whatever in cages. Remember that whole fucking thing? Even though that was a Clinton / Obama era fucking policy. Yep. And she was saying, Pelosi was saying like, I just don't know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be soon. Even people like Ayanna Pressley saying like there needs to be unrest in the streets. And so again, it's like, dude, those are like, dare I say, like just as inflammatory as saying, hey, we need to fight hard for our country, dude.
Did you see people, they were posting on Twitter and stuff or whatever about them like harassing Romney?
On the plane?
Yeah,
I did see that. I'm not going to lie. If I had any sympathy for that scumbag or whatever, I would be like, dude, leave him alone, dude. But they're just like, hey, yo, hey, Romney, you're a fucking traitor.
Traitor. But
Which must have been so annoying, a whole fucking flight trip with his fucking people behind you, dude.
Yeah. But it's kind of funny to me that people on the left like supporting him and like kind of championing him. Like, dude, you realize who this guy is?
Oh,
like,
bro, no. Well, that's another thing that drives me nuts about the left too, is that once any Republican kind of does anything that is positive on their end, even though if they've been shitting on this guy forever or whatever, they'll suddenly have a newfound respect for this person. You know what I mean? But dude, it's all fake. It's all just as much as what they can get from you. You know what I mean? And they're only going to be cool with you if you keep spouting the mantras and the fucking, all the things that they want you to be saying, right?
I will say it does take, I shouldn't even have to say this, but it does take balls in this day and age to go against the party line.
Oh, 100%, dude, to actually stand up for your convictions and stuff and vote your conscience and stuff. I couldn't agree more, homie. And I feel like if more people would just do that, regardless of what they believe, dude, because I'm sure everybody feels pressure from their peers. And at first, I feel like it was just a bunch of Trump supporters in the first like couple of years of his administration that were feeling like, peer pressure from everybody, like, you suck and change, and why should you wearing this, and blah, blah, blah. But now, dude, everything's amped up so hard that, bro, you put on any piece of, like, political attire, you're going to draw the ire, dude. Like, and it's lame. Didn't used to be like that. Yeah. So, like, one of the last things I'm going to talk about is, I heard a lot of people were saying, too, like, well, but he's challenging the election. You know what I mean? Like that for his rhetoric, as far as the rhetoric is concerned. As far as like the constitutional process, like I heard a lot of shit from the left by saying like the people that were going to object are like traitors or like insurrectionists or something like that. And it's like, no, that's part of the constitutional process. It's okay. You're supposed to like debate about it for like, I think like 2 hours each objection or something like that. I know there's like a whole set of rules or whatever, but they'll be saying things like, well, like, but he's challenging the election and da-da-da. It's like, well, he was doing it in every presumable legal way possible or whatever, right? Fucking 4 years ago, dude, remember, like, Jesus Christ, the left wouldn't accept the election or whatever. They said it was stolen by Russia, and we had all those freaking like people like screaming at the sky during his inauguration and stuff like that, and Hillary Clinton saying that that her election was literally stolen from her, and that like his Trump's election has an error of illegitimacy to it. And it's like, dude, that is blatantly saying that the elections are fucked up and he stole it and this and that. But now we're hearing that like these were the most safest elections of ever. You know what I mean? And it's so funny to me because even people that we know who believe certain things that I think are fucking loony about Trump and Russia and a bunch of other things, and think that like Trump stole the election, that the election was like fucked with last year, are totally fine with not looking at any things that may or may not have happened this year or whatever. Right. So again, once the shoe was on the other foot, much like the BLM Antifa shit or whatever, after this capital city thing, suddenly the left cares about the police and wants more of it, and and that kind of thing. And so it's just funny how quickly everything goes. And that's not like the only example. Like for fuck's sake, Stacey Abrams, who is going to be governor of Georgia, she's been saying for 4 years that because of like voter suppression and other things or whatever, that her election was stolen from her. And for fuck's sakes, dude, when I was watching the DNC, they introduced her as the rightful governor of Georgia, dude. Come on, dude. Like, this is what I'm saying. It's like, dude, there's plenty of blame to go around, dude, for turning up the rhetoric and the distrust in our system, dude. Yeah. You know what I mean? You even had fucking...
And there are things that do need to be fixed.
Oh my God. Are you kidding? I've been complaining about this forever, dude, since before. Way fucking before this happened, dude. Like, I didn't like these fucking voting machines to begin with, dude. And now John Oliver did a fucking thing just a couple of months ago where he's like, these voting machines are fucking terrible. And then now that like the election is over and that Joe Biden won, he's like, I never fucking said anything about that. And you're like, you fucking limey cunt, dude. And so anyway, dude, to wrap this all up, dude, again, like you were saying, dude, like words absolutely matter, right? Do you remember what you said to me when this whole thing started in May, as far as like the riots and stuff like that?
I said a lot of things.
That's true. Duff Man says a lot of things. But specifically, we were hearing a lot of rhetoric in support of these like riots that were happening in the summer, right? We heard a lot of people saying things like, well, looting is just reparations. We heard that rioting and violence is just the language of the unheard. Yeah. We heard like whole books and like articles were written like called In Defense of Rioting or In Defense of Looting, I think, or one of the two. There was a narrative going around also, and I heard you repeat this, and I'm not talking shit about it because you're actually kind of right in a way, but now I want people to apply it to what's happened now. The quote of, unfortunately, violence works. Yeah. Yeah. So if we're fucking gonna be consistent, dude, logically, is anybody fucking surprised, dude, that this thing in Washington, D.C. happened? And I don't mean like, oh, we could see it happen when Trump was going down the escalator when he first got elected, because that's horseshit. I mean literally like, with all the stuff that happened, and the double standards in the summer, and people being let go, and the DAs not freaking, yeah, it's the pendulum. Exactly, dude. Marcus is showing me. Yeah, dude. And that's my point, dude, is that like, if you really believe that shit from before, dude, then you need to believe this too. And I heard a buddy of mine say like, well, but the people in the summer, dude, they were fighting for a just cause. I'm like, bro, the people on the right think that they're fucking fighting for a just cause. They feel like they haven't been heard. They feel like they're being like censored and shit. Like they have a double standard of like legality and stuff. It's not the people that, the people on the left that are freaking rioting stuff and everything. They're getting let go by these DAs and shit, dude, all summer long, basically, dude. And they don't have things like the Minnesota Freedom Fund or any of these other people to fucking bail them out. All these dipshits at the fucking Capitol on the right, you guys are on your own, dude. Like, you think there's anybody's gonna come through and like help you out with like your money or your final? Dude. Sorry, it's not coming, dude. And again, like, if what has happened has already set an established precedent, don't be surprised when the other side is like, you know what? Fuck this, dude. Why are we playing by different rules, dude? So that's all I'm saying. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying it was unbelievably, completely predictable, dude, by the reactions of last summer and not before. Because that's another freaking narrative that I'm hearing that is very, like, intellectually lazy.
What do you mean?
So everybody's basically saying that like people could freaking see that this was going to happen based on like the rhetoric and everything from the last 4 years. Oh, okay. And that's nonsense, dude. We've had this amount of like rhetoric. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's been turned up a bunch, but like it's been overwhelmingly peaceful at like Trump rallies and shit. You never fucking hear about like Trump riots. You know what I mean? I mean, did we? I mean, did I miss that? You know what I mean? Like at all? You know what I mean? No. It's funny because the left, what it seems like, does a lot of little. Like death of 1,000 cuts kind of a thing. You know what I mean? They're way more organized, but they're not very effective. Does that make sense?
Which is interesting because I feel like the opposite is true for the right.
No, I totally agree. That's exactly what my point was going to be. Is that they're way less like connected and like able to like plan shit together and stuff and organize.
They have the infrastructure,
but when they hit, dude, it is more devastating. I would agree. You know what I mean? Like they'll hit less and less often, right? But with pound for pound, fight for fight, more devastating like reactions or whatever too, or whatever.
Whereas the right's more like a ragtag kind of rebellion. Like they know the land, they leave landmines type of thing.
Yeah, kind of like militia-y, fucking wannabe. Like, I get that. Yeah, totally.
It's if the left is like almost like the Red Army, like it's just sheer numbers, it's just giant size
conscripts.
They're not necessarily, they're not necessarily like the most well trained and have the best like whatever.
But they have like the Borg mentality of being able to all be able to like kind of in unison react. Right. Whereas the fucking dudes on the right are just kind of like, what are we doing? Like, I don't know.
They're just they're like passionate, like defending their homeland type of thing. Like,
but that's like as.
Right. I don't know.
No. I agree. And this is just our opinions or whatever. I'm sure there's other people that like are objectively going like, you're wrong. This is how it's supposed to be. You idiot. This is a way better analogy. But from where I'm sitting, this is pretty much how I see everything, dude. I know it's kind of long. We went on longer than what I wanted to necessarily. And it's a big fucking thing, dude. And it has a lot of edges and angles to it and shit. And just to look at it and think that like, oh, I can just paint it with this big brush and now we can just get this all behind us.
You don't realize. Dude. You're calling a cube a square.
Yes, dude. And there are problems that come along.
Anyway. Can I make one more point?
Please, dude. Thank you.
So you talked before about the, painting broad brush and everything. Mm-hmm. We got to think about, it's this crazy thought that once January 20th.
Yes.
20th,
yes. The
once January 20th happens, these people are just going to go away.
No. And that's my point, dude.
What are you going to do?
So if you ostracize 80 million fucking people from the conversation, dude, think of what that's going to happen.
Did
Even
you
if
forget
they're wrong.
how close the election was?
Like, oh my god, that's my point.
Basically half the country.
That's my point, dude.
What are you doing?
If right or wrong, dude, you can think that these guys are cunts as much as you want. For fuck's sakes, dude, there's plenty of blame to go around, dude. I'm like you said, we're sitting here in the middle, kind of going like, dude, fucking calm down, everybody. Jesus Christ. But I feel like people like you and I, because we're less emotionally like attached to it. Like obviously, I feel like I'm a little more like emotionally attached to certain things or whatever. But I feel like it helps with clarity of thought. You know what I mean? And even if I don't like something, or if I tolerate it but dislike it or whatever, I at least can see the inherent strategy in it. Right. You know what I mean? Regardless if I want these cunts fucking in my life or not, dude, left, right, whoever, I'm aware that they are human beings and they have fucking rights and they have like, they exist, dude. And if we're going to live together, at least in some form or another, even as neighbors, if we do this peaceful divorce bullshit, the problems are still there, dude. And just ignoring them is not going to make them go away.
If we can't live together, we're going to die alone.
That's true. What did Franklin say? If we don't hang together, we will surely hang separate. Or separately, yeah. I guess that's the last thing to say, I guess, would just be to, don't believe the media. keep your head up and on a swivel. Keep your eyes open.
And listen to Face to Face.
Yeah, right.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
I am your God now.
Here's our Patreon account if you want to.
Don't listen to anybody else. Only listen to us, okay? It's the only way you're going to be safe.
God, now.
It's amazing what you'll find face to face.
Do you enjoy the show and want to help it grow? Don't hesitate. Like, share, and donate.
I need to start writing this stuff down.
Bro. Careful, you'll just start fucking. It's like dinner was ready, and she's like, "Are you to come to dinner?" I'm like, 1 second. Okay. Oh, shit.
One more round,
Yeah,
Mom.
yeah. Okay, right. And then I do that, and I like eat for a second, and then she's like, say something like,
That reminds me.
"What are you doing?" Like, "Whoa, right there." She's like, "What are you doing over there?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm making notes for things." She's like, "Dude, you're fucking making notes for like 2 hours." I'm like, "Dude, there's so much here,
my
dude."
mistress, okay?
Yeah,
Damn.
right. Dude,
Got
right,
my
dude.
back.
How hilarious that'd be. Like, I would have like carte blanche to do that. She would think I'm just doing that or whatever. I don't even fucking use any of the opportunities. Like, some cheating guys or whatever, if they look at like the opportunities in my life, like, bro, you have so much opportunity to fuck,
It's just
dude.
Marcus talking to himself, man. He's programmed an AI to speak as Drew. He's obviously not even there.
Right? Wonder who he's talking to. Better be that hot robot.
Created a Drew robot. A Drew bot.
Drewbot.
This is Bitch Stewie.
Hey, hi, Brian. I just had it for, oh no, I pooped myself. Oh my gosh.
Side note, I saw this hot chick in the Target once. She had a
Was she
shirt.
totally Italian?
She was-
Maybe
or
some kind of Spanish?
She had a shirt that said "Make America Read Again." I was
Good. Yes, we should read.
like, I just want to take you into the back and just anyway.
Do ungodly but also like totally consensual things with you. It's so weird to have to ride that
permission
fucking
to pin you down and
dude. No, right? Like, dude, guys of today, I do not envy, dude, because like, bro, in the wake of all this shit, it's so hard because it's like at the same time, it's like, okay, obviously I want to be respectful. Obviously, I want to make sure she's having a good time because frankly, my sexual pleasure is derived from the fact that she is getting pleasure.
Sure.
Like to me, that's like
Right.
like I'm
Right.
like it might even be like a shallow machismo thing, but you know, I feel like women wouldn't really give a fuck because they're on the
Either way.
positive end. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. They don't give a fuck.
ends justify the means.
Yeah, totally. But at the same time, also try to be like assertive and sexy and fucking
Yeah.
confident and like,
Right.
you know, take what I want kind of a thing or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Because there's a huge aspect about that women
That
love, dude. And
drives-
if they
yeah.
fucking tell you otherwise, they're fucking lying, dude. Like there's I heard this like this talk where this chick was talking about how like when she was first doing things and she didn't even realize that she liked that.
Mm-hmm.
And he like took her arm and hands and like pinned it above her head or something like
Right.
that. And she like knew at that moment, like I could say anything right now, like, hey, stop or whatever. And because of her relationship with this person, she was confident that like
Right.
obviously that would stop happening, right?
Right.
But then she was like, oh, that feels good. Like,
Right.
well, what else fucking, what else
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
do I like? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just funny that like men have to like navigate that shit. You have to be really good at reading the room, dude.
Yeah.
If people don't interact with each other enough on a personal one-to-one like basis or whatever, like on a social level,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna miss those social cues,
Yeah.
dude, and they're gonna fucking have a lot of like moments of like, what the? Oh, I thought this was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Fucking, oh, I'm sorry, or whatever. Which sucks too, because like even if the guy doesn't mean to do whatever, he's gonna be hella embarrassed and like ashamed and like, oh, now she's gonna think I'm a fucking weirdo or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like, you know, I didn't.
Hopefully
I
she's
didn't-
not the gossiping type.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Yeah.
God damn it. And so, it's just a big shitty mess.
Yeah. Anything else?
Nah, that's all.